Hey guys, so we're on to the trim, and for the Titans I find that this is like you've done all the work on the panels, airbrush work with your hazard stripes and your reds. This is the picture framing of those, that hard work. So the trim, you do have to be careful because you don't want to have to redo anything from the previous stages, so you do have to be quite careful. Also, probably the other call outs are Legio Ignatum can have silver or gold trim. I have chosen gold, and I've worn gold at that, I guess more to contrast against the silvers, the underlying metallics, and those red colours in particular. I think it looks quite nice. It's a really good contrast, and plus, brings a certain amount of bling to the Titan, makes them look quite majestic. So that's why I kind of opted for the gold. And probably the other call out is there is, and I've kind of mentioned in the previous video, there is a lot of trim. It will take some time, especially with the steps I've probably got here, more time than usual. So get a really good audio book or really nice music to listen to go through this, because it will take some time. A good podcast as well, just smash through it. It's just you've got to do the work in this instance to get the results that you want, and you do need to be really careful. You don't want to ruin those plates. So let's get stuck in. For this first step, all you're really wanting to do is what I call defining the trim. So using Nuln oil and a fine detailed brush and being very careful, we're fairly much just applying the Nuln oil to the trim so that it flows into the recess between the plate and the trim. So then it has that definition, it has that line, so you know what to aim for when you're actually painting the trim itself. It also provides, to a degree, a certain amount of, depth to the trim to begin with. Also, you want to pick out specific lines in the plates as well, being very careful without too much overspill, because this is where you can ruin plates. You don't want to have to fix this up. On to step 2, which is the base colour for the gold, a 1-to-1 mix of Retributor armour and Liberator gold. I found the Retributor was a bit strong on it and too dark on its own, so I kind of, livened it up a little bit, adding the Liberator gold to it. Fine detailed brush, be really careful, just applying it to the trim, and hopefully the Nuln oil has done its work, and you can easily see the difference between where the trim is and where the plates are. Should act as a really good guide. I find it really helpful to make sure I see where that trim is, so that I don't go over it. Also, another thing I guess it's a tip, is when I'm applying this, obviously you have to do it very carefully, and make sure the paint, add a fair amount of water to the paint as well so it flows well. It's quite strong, which is great, so it's got good coverage. However, occasionally it will go onto the actual plate, and what I find is you have a brush or two handy with some water. When this occurs, as soon as you can, you drop that brush that you've got, pick up a fresh one, put a little bit of water on the brush, and get it to where that paint is on that plate as soon as possible. And you feel much just grabbing the paint with the water and taking it off the plate as quickly as possible. You might be left with a few metallic flecks, but hopefully it will save the plate and you won't need to do it all over again. Next step is to tone down that gold base that we just applied with some Agrax Earthshade, and hopefully give it a little bit of definition as well. But this is essentially to, as I said, tone it down. I find that putting the Agrax on, it does pick up all those like little bolts and so forth in the gold, which is cool, provides a bit of definition. But more importantly, it does tone the gold down. It looks really nice. It may not look like it when you're applying it. You might be going, man, I'm putting stuff on, but nothing's happening. Trust me, when you go back and it's dry, it has toned it down. I guarantee it. So it's very similar in a way to the first step with the null and oil, where you're actually trying to define the trim. Here you're just applying it to the trim itself. So a little overspill is okay because it's just going to go into that null and oil anyway, which is totally fine. On to the final step, and in a way an optional step. You might like the gold the way it is. However, I like a more ancient, kind of worn look to my gold. So I use a equal part mix of Liberator Gold and Ironbreaker with some water. Just picking out the highlights, the bolts, kind of the corners of the trim, areas where the gold will probably get worn, just to add probably a little bit of depth and feature to the gold. It's the final step, so be really careful, just like the previous steps. Don't want to damage those panels. And the trim is done, and you are almost finished. Well, actually, no, you're not. There's still quite a few steps to complete one of these Titans, obviously. There's the transfers that have to be done, which really, really help. The base, all the little cabling you might want to do, things like that. I know I'm waiting on some hex stencils to do some red armor plates in a slightly different design. So that's why I can't show you any finished Titans, unfortunately. I'd love to, but I can't right now. So I've been busy painting more Reavers and Warhounds, so I'll put a little picture here so that you can see where my progress, fairly much production is now stopped. I'm at the point where I'm waiting for those stencils, so hopefully in future videos I'll be able to show you them complete. And as for future videos, I'm not quite sure what to do next. I was thinking maybe jumping back into doing some 40k Primaris, or maybe I could do some specific ones around plasma glow effect and things like that, or basing for the Titans, or transfers, but everyone's done transfers, so I'm not that fussed by that. Or just a different Legio, maybe, like Solaria or something like that. Anyway, I'll have a bit of a think and I'll see what I can work on next. But I hope you've liked this first set of videos.